Oh, yeah. What up, guys? Bobo here with BrassReel Brothers. Thanks for joining me for a little bit of a special experimental episode. So I just was talking to a friend of mine, Ezmaniac, and we were talking about doing like maybe some franchise discussions and talking about a bunch of stuff that we love, but only like 3 movies or more. But it was just kind of some fun talk. And then finally I was just like, hey, let's get this guy involved. What's up, buddy? This is my buddy Ezmaniac.
Yeah, I'm doing all right. It's quite late over here. Not as early as it is over there.
So let me explain this to anybody that's watching this. Is he's in the UK and we're in America. Most of my people watching me. Maybe not. Maybe there's a lot of people watching that aren't. Hopefully.
Well, I found you from the UK.
You know what? That's true. What am I talking about? I sound like an idiot right now. But man, thank you, dude. I appreciate this. Like, I think it's a good idea. You and I were just talking about movies, and that's all we do is talk about movies. We connected through our channels, and now we literally talk every day about 80s movies, 90s movies mostly. We still talk about modern stuff, but we definitely connect really well on the 80s and 90s stuff.
Like this one?
Oh, dude, that's badass. Look at this one. You got a little and look, he's all
all the way around. I like that. That's good.
So is that an old school Spider-Man mug or what?
Yeah, I think it came with an Easter egg or something like that.
It came with an Easter egg?
Probably, yeah. That's how they do it over here.
Explain that to me.
So you get your chocolate egg, probably in there, wrapped in foil, in a box. Like that's how they do it.
That's so sort of like the traditional Easter gift?
Maybe for men. But usually, yeah, you get a lot of mugs and things like that.
Yeah, interesting. So, I don't know what we actually do over here as far as traditional on Easter. I think it's just kids get Easter baskets and maybe
we don't do that.
You don't do that at all.
Not really. I mean, they try, but you can feel like they're copying off the American. Same with Halloween as well. That's only become majorly fashionable in the last like 15, 20 years.
Interesting. So when you were growing up, now I'm just curious, and honestly, we do know each other, but yep. I'm finding some stuff out about you too right now. The Halloween, you were into Halloween your whole life? You just never really celebrated it over there until like 15 years ago?
It's just not that big a deal over here unless you make it. And now people make it a big deal. Now we've got the internet and everything. And
yeah, and that changed everything.
Yeah.
Now, and you know, it's something I don't think about sometimes. It's like, why was it? Because I remember I had an aunt that lived in Indonesia and she lived in all these other countries. Her and her family, they worked for like Chevron, Texaco, like oil stuff.
Yeah. And
they would be talking about like, yeah, we're just now getting, like, I'm just using an example, like we're just now getting Ninja Turtles. And this would be like in 99. And I'm like, really? What? And she's like, that's just how it is. But fast forward to today where everything's out immediately, unless it's a theatrical release, then they have some control whether or not they're going to release it internationally. So if it's like, if Venom wouldn't have been released in China, then they wouldn't have had as easy access to it unless somebody pirated it over here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it's interesting. I don't know, just didn't know that. Because Halloween, dude, is massive. I mean, it's in certain ways bigger than Christmas as far as the marketing and the stores that open up just specifically for Halloween. And
yeah. I mean, we got all the merchandise and everything, but effort. It's more so now. As a child, I just remember Frankenstein masks, a wolf mask, and not a lot else. Do you know what I mean?
When did you find out about Friday the 13th?
When did I find?
Or any of those icons like Freddy, Jason, Michael? When did
Well, I was very close to my uncles, and they would, rather than put me to bed early, they would include me with watching these movies at a very young age. And it's one of the best things they ever did, because there's nothing better than being scared as a child. I mean, at the time, it's awful. But I look back on that with amazing memories. Do you know what I mean? I look back and I think, wow, a movie could do that to you. Do you know what I mean?
That's what pulls me into movies in general, is the effect that it actually can have on you, good or bad.
Yeah, but I think more so, like, I remember seeing A Nightmare on Elm Street and being terrified of it, like absolutely terrified. And my family was always renting horror movies. They'd never buy them. It was in the 80s. And I just remember Being exposed to it from a very young age, like I said to you before, like Michael Jackson's Thriller, I should never have been watching that at the age I was at.
Me either.
Yeah, but I don't regret it. So
yeah, me. I mean, and it's funny you say that. My dad was the same way. I mean, and including what we're going to be talking about tonight with Terminator. I remember seeing that as a kid with my dad, and I think my mom may have like been in the room, but just not been aware of what was on the screen or something. But it was the eyeball scene, dude, that killed me in Terminator.
Yeah,
and that I was just like, what the hell am I? I mean, but my dad was just cool with letting me watch horror films. He just was. It was weird.
Yeah, well, my first experience of the Terminator franchise was my mum used to work early, and she would send me to a babysitter because my dad was in the army, so in Germany this was as well. So there was one video store that would all the videos would be in English, and I remember this particular family that were babysitting for me while my mum was at work. They had all these videos. And first I saw RoboCop, and then I saw Terminator, and I remember being terrified of both, like from a very young age. So
RoboCop had some terrible violence in it, dude. I mean, whoo.
Not something I wanted to be seeing maybe at 8:30 in the morning, but yeah, we're here talking about it now. So,
oh, dude, when Clarence is just like, and he blows his hand off, I just remember being like, oh my god.
Yeah, it's pretty cruel. It's pretty cruel what they do to him. It's not as cruel as RoboCop 3, but it's pretty cruel.
Well, yeah, but you can't even. You just saw that one too for the first time. You can't even take that movie seriously, man. I mean, you really can't.
It was off.
It's just like part 2. I really enjoy the aspect of the whole, like, it even got a little trashier than part 1. You know what I mean? Got a little smuttier with the nuke and the whole
the
neck and then that was the one where the kids were like beating up. They had like the baseball team, and there was a little t-ball team, and they were like coming in and robbing like electronic stores with bats. That was awesome.
Yeah, because they've got the kid who's like, is he like a leader or something? He's like quite important, the young boy. Yeah,
and he's sort of like in control. And then there was the other guy that was the main boss though, and he had an interesting name. It was like a name
Kane.
Kane. Yeah, that's right. That's right. I was about to say like Cyrus or something, but no, it was Kane. You're right.
Yeah, I remember. Right, we're drifting because we're talking Terminator tonight.
We are talking Terminator. I have a bad habit of getting off track. The beauty about these live streams, man, is we can talk and we can be ourselves and get into it. So yeah, dude, Terminator. And so let me explain real quick to everybody watching. So the whole idea is that we're just gonna dive into some franchises, and these are franchises that we're both very familiar with, and I don't want to say like obsessed with these franchises. Maybe some of them we might be, but most of the time I think that we're going to be talking about stuff that's either nostalgic, important to us from the past, or something that had some sort of an effect, or the franchises that started out really good and then just went downhill from the first one. So things like that is what I'm thinking of. So the first one we're going to be talking about is Terminator. And so what do you say we just start with part 1, man?
Part 1.
So okay. Let me just pull this bad boy up real quick for you. So I like to find some of these like alternate posters, the ones that aren't just like the exact regular ones.
Yep.
So tell me about your Terminator experience.
Well, it's all about as a child growing up, it was all about T2. And then as I get older, I appreciated the first one a hell of a lot more. Like, it's a fantastic like horror. I see it as a horror film. I think the score for the movie is brilliant. It's like chilling, especially when it's chasing after her in the factory at the end. I just think it's fantastic, the first one. Great casting. And the budget as well. The budget's, I don't know the budget, but I'm guessing it wasn't a lot. And they made the best of what they could. And they started something. Like, it was just brilliant direction from James Cameron. Brilliant casting of Arnold Schwarzenegger. So yeah, I mean, how do you feel about it? The first one.
I adore it. It definitely is. You can tell it's from a filmmaker who was really ambitious at the time, James Cameron. We all know Cameron. And let's face it, when Cameron does something, it's usually to change the industry or break ground or do something that everybody wants to be like, oh, I want to do that now. And for the most part, he's succeeded every time as far as what he writes and directs, not what he like maybe produces here or does this. I'm talking about when it's his baby, he starts something like you just said. He created a genre that he brought the slasher horror vibe into the action world a little bit. You know, I'm convinced that like Cobra wouldn't exist if it wasn't for Terminator, because the feel is a little bit of the same. It is an action movie, but there's a horror element to it, and it's dark. It's real, like just even when you're inside of buildings, it's just very dim lit all the time. And like you said, dude, that soundtrack, the score, I mean, it's almost more of a slasher horror film than it is an action movie.
Yeah, I think the first one, I prefer the score from that one compared to the second one. But I think because the second one feels like a family film, even though it's not. It's set in the daytime, and he's a hero in the second one. But the first one, it's what started it all. It's hard to describe, but I just know I love it.
So, do you think? Because I don't want to get just completely far away from the first Terminator, but do you think that it would have, like I'm saying, I'm not trying to just move on from it just yet. Yeah. Do you think it would have been? I think one of the reasons it changed is because they knew that they had something that could be a commercial success, and they needed to make it a little more commercial, which is what they did with the second one. But they also were clever about how to completely keep 1 and 2 so far apart from each other that you don't even have to compare them, you know? So part 1, I do see the first time filmmaker things here and there. I don't know if you knew this, but James Cameron, the way he started was working for Roger Corman. You know, did you know that?
No.
You know who Roger Corman is?
No.
Roger Corman is the guy that did like all kinds of old school horror movies back in the day. Like he was sort of the original horror movie guy, but he was doing like the original Piranha from the 70s.
Yeah, I know James Cameron's involved with that. Yeah.
Okay, well, he worked for, that's Roger Corman. Roger Corman has made more. He made a career out of making movies to make money. That's it. He wasn't interested in art. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
James Cameron was more artistic. But Roger Corman, because of that and being kind of a pioneer in the industry, he sort of became like this godfather of film. And so everybody just loves him. He's just like one of those, like John Waters or something. But so you could see like the Cormanisms in Terminator. You could see like, oh, they probably made that on set, whatever prosthetic that, you know what I mean? Like using people that were fresh out of school, maybe still in film school. You could just see that with the first one.
Was Stan Winston, was he involved in the first one?
You know, I'm not sure. Let me look. I'm looking. Yeah, there you go right now, because I'm looking at the back. Special makeup effects by Stan Winston. Yep, it was him.
So was he big at that time or not? Like
I don't think so, because that was 84 when the first one came out.
Yeah. So
not that he may not have, he probably was big, but I think a lot of people need to, you know, realize that special effects for movies have, you know, special makeup effects. Yeah, while they're always getting better and better and better, they weren't always awesome. So like things that looked good to you back in the day, like when I first saw Terminator, it was like, oh my God, of course now when you watch it, you can tell it's a fake mannequin head and all that. And because we're used to so much more now, and special effects hadn't really gotten to what they hadn't gotten where they needed to be yet. So I think
how do you feel about the casting?
I think it's great.
Yeah.
Good old Linda Hamilton.
Yeah. I mean,
oh man.
I mean, for me growing up, she was somebody I was never like attracted to. I was attracted to a character, but I never saw her as like the damsel in distress. Do you know what I mean?
So it's funny you say that. So I was attracted to her in this Terminator 1. It was the damsel in distress, but I thought that she had a striking look. The problem is that I didn't find it, and I don't want to say that she's an unattractive woman, because she isn't. She's a woman and all that stuff. She's feminine as can be. Let me just make sure I'm not making anyone angry. But I felt like that she has that sort of look like an older woman even when she was younger.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It's the mullet. It's the mullet hair. It's
well, look at her in this, because she's still got sort of the soft feminine look. But man, once it hit Terminator 2,
she actually looks quite nice there.
She does. But once it hit Terminator 2 time, though, buddy, I mean, look, I got a picture of it over here. Let me just find it. But I mean, I thought I had a picture of it. Maybe
she's got the same body as J.K. Simmons has got now.
You saw him in Tomorrow War? Man,
Yeah.
he was definitely bowed up in that.
Yeah.
Really bowed up. And you know what? Good for him though. That's what I want to look like when I'm that age. It's just, maybe not the woman. But man, I'm sorry. I thought I had a picture of her, but maybe I don't. But I really, she just turned into, really tough in part 2. So I like Michael Biehn in part 1.
Was that his first big breakout movie?
I think so. I don't remember him being in anything before that. And then he started being in a ton of stuff after that.
Yeah.
What's funny is that Cameron likes to use a lot of the same guys. And so Michael Biehn was in
like
Aliens and
Abyss. He was in Abyss, wasn't he?
He was in The Abyss, and so was Bill Paxton. Bill Paxton was in Titanic. He was in Aliens. He likes using that kind of thing. But
yeah,
I definitely feel like the first Terminator is awesome in its own right because of how ambitious the film was at the time. Yeah. And well, like you said, it started something that was just monumental. I mean, what guy in the world did at the time, what macho dude at the time wasn't like, fucking Terminator, yeah, you know what I mean? Every dude.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if it took some of its ideas from Westworld, because I watched that the other day, and there's like obviously
you watched the original Westworld?
Yeah, it was kind of painful but good at the same time. But there's a part where you can see through. Is it Yul Brynner? Not Yul Brynner. Is it Yul Brynner in that?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, well, the main robot guy, and you see like his vision, and it's all a bit like RoboCop's vision and everything like that came after that. But I wonder if that inspired like the Terminator vision, the red, the infrared, and all the numbers. And
I mean, I bet it did.
Yeah,
I think that at the end of the day, that most filmmakers just stealing art from each other. I mean, James Cameron knew when he was making Terminator 2 that he was going to have to up the game on part 1, and he did, in my opinion. You say you don't think that part 2 you like part 1 better than part 2?
No, I would say I like them both the same. They're like they're two different, even though they both tie in together, and it's the perfect loop of time, the perfect story. I don't think you can really add any more to it. I don't think they should have really made any more after it, unless it was. No, they changed it. They changed everything at the end in Terminator 2, and I thought there's no way it can continue on.
Well, I don't think Cameron intended it for at the time.
No, and you could see why we're in such a mess with it now. Do you know what I mean? As in, like, it's the studios, that it's the hands that it passes through, and it's just they cannot make a successful Terminator movie anymore, and I don't know why.
Well, I think I know why. Is because when you rely heavily on the plot of a cybernetic force coming back in time to wrong or to right the mistakes or right the wrongs, or you know what I'm saying, or stop everything. It's sort of like that. All you have is just like, okay, it's kind of like Tomorrow War. It's just like, well, let's just go back again. Let's go back again. But it's different every time they go back. And maybe it goes along that line of you and I talking about people running out of, you exhaust the creativity with something. It's like, man, if you would have ended at part 2 with Terminator 2, you would have, in a weird way, just not had any other options to mess up. But now that you start bringing people back in time, it almost gives the audience to start analyzing what could and what couldn't happen. And then it sort of ruins the story for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what's your favorite scene in the movie? The first one.
In the first one, I mean, the one thing that fully sticks out to me definitely is when he's cutting his face open and everything, for sure. I mean, to me, that's sort of like the pinnacle moment of the movie, even though it's a slow part. That was really smart on James Cameron to be like, all right, we're going to have a moment in the movie like you always need to have in any action film. Slow down, but we're going to do something to you that makes you not be able to look away from the screen. And to me, that's sort of like you know what kind of movie you're watching once that scene happens. Before that, you were kind of like, is this scary? Am I supposed to be? And it's like, oh my God, they went for it.
I love how quick Arnold Schwarzenegger loses his eyebrows. Like it completely. Once he loses his eyebrows, he looks like a machine. Like he is just evil. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? The burn off or whatever it is.
No, it is. Well, I think that at that point they would even added extra makeup, not just to move his eyebrows. They actually started making him purposely look more machine outside of his skin until you actually see machine stuff. Now, let me ask you this: what do you think about the machine effects
I think they still kind of hold up.
in part
Like,
one?
yeah, I mean they're not amazing. They're not. I mean, Terminator 2 doesn't look amazing anymore because we've seen better CGI. But I think for a starter film to make a model appear to be like this killing machine, I believe it. It holds up. You know, I believe that they're afraid of it. I believe that they're interacting with it, even though you can see it's stop motion.
What do you compare it to the big droid at the end of RoboCop 1? That's all stop motion.
Yeah, I don't really. I'm not a fan of the Ed 209.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I can only remember RoboCop 3 at the moment, and he's in that.
It's just extremely noticeable in part one, like the stop motion. Like Ray Harryhausen did a lot of the stop motion back in the monster movie days, the Wrath of the Clash of the Titans, old school one. And so he was like the god of stop motion, and even his stuff to me looks better than the RoboCop stop motion.
Yeah, it's just very well crafted, and like, was it Lance Henriksen? Is that his name? Like, was he anything big before that?
So wait, Lance is in Terminator 1?
Yeah, he's a cop.
I guess I don't remember that because it's been a few years since I watched it. I mean, it's not been 10 years or anything like that, but I bet you it's been 5 or 6 years since I've seen part one. I just don't remember him as the cop, but I know you're right on that.
Yeah, I think he gets a machine gun. He keeps cracking jokes.
Well, I mean, again, there's another deal with Cameron using somebody again because he used him in Aliens.
This is what I mean, and he had quite a career with Aliens. So, yeah, no, I mean, you've got my favorite scene is definitely when he turns up and to find her at the police station, and drives through and just absolutely tears them all apart. And I feel the panic and the fear in that film. Do you know what I mean?
Well, completely, especially when I was a kid watching it. You definitely feel the fear and the panic because it's an unstoppable rebel force that obviously nothing's stopping this thing. So you as an audience member know what he's capable of when he's hitting the police station, but a lot of them don't as it's happening. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, how do you feel about the gun shop scene?
I mean, do I like it or don't like it? Or
yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I like it. I think it's great. The guy's all scared shitless.
What I don't get is why he's even bothering asking the guy.
Well, because I think he's trying to comply. This is my thinking. I think he's trying to comply until he actually has the gun.
Yeah.
And then once he has the gun,
rifle in a 40-watt range, he's asking for future weapons.
And you do it too because it's funny because he doesn't have he's not like it's sort of that high pitched Arnold voice, Yeah. At the 40, sort of like hear the lamentation of the women.
Yeah, it's like he's still learning his English.
Like, yeah. Well, he didn't speak good English at Terminator, man. I mean, he was still really broken. And, I don't know if you remember, his first movie was Hercules. Yes,
I've seen that many times.
I've never seen it.
I've seen it, only the dubbed version, though. I had it on video.
Well, they dubbed his whole voice in the whole movie, right?
Yeah. There's one scene in that film, because I used to edit this particular Hercules. This was before YouTube. No mortal is superior to Hercules, and that was the voice. It sounded just like that, and over Arnold Schwarzenegger's image, and it's like it just doesn't gel. It's so bizarre.
With a neck like Arnold, you need to have that.
Yeah.
That Hungarian Austrian-ish deal.
It's a bad film.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think we all know that for sure. Mm-hmm. But was his first one? I think his first one right after that was it Terminator, or was it Conan?
Conan he did first, which
okay.
That's an epic film, and you think he can clearly speak English.
They may have just really worked on it. You never know. Yeah. Well, but even Terminator, the beauty is that it wasn't a talking role for him. You know what I mean? So it's just like, just be in it. We just need your figure.
Yeah.
I do Conan the Destroyer, just to get off in a second. I think Conan Destroyer is the better film though.
Conan the Destroyer is better than what?
Than Barbarian, my opinion.
What? You're insane.
I just enjoy watching it better. I enjoy maybe it's just the situation it's in. I think the content's a little better, but it's also a little bit more comic booky. It's a little closer to the comic book feel.
I get what you're saying. I reckon you probably watched that one first, maybe as a child.
I probably did.
No, but nobody on this earth would say that.
Wow. Hey, Quentin Tarantino agrees with me.
Does he really?
Yeah, he said it on the Joe Rogan show a while back. He was talking about it, and that's why. Well, because Conan was a comic book, and believe it or not, I don't know if you know this, Conan was created by a guy from Texas.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, Conan the Barbarian was created from a guy out of Texas, which is weird. You would think it was created like from somebody at least that lived in Europe or something, but no, it was created from some country dude in Texas. But I was always like, he was sort of Conan was like a black sheep of the comic books to me, because he wasn't really he wasn't like a caped guy. It was more.
Yeah, he's more like a He-Man.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But I still enjoyed him and I still liked him. And it was one of those kinds that I just like, I read it, but I didn't love it. But when I saw Conan the Destroyer, it just reminded me more of the comics I grew up, and I think that's why I connected it with it. But
I didn't see Conan until the 90s. It was just a film that nobody really wanted to watch.
Oh, dude, all I wanted to do was grab a sword and swing it, swinging it that whole, how he swings it and then he holds it. Like, that's all I wanted to do anytime I picked up a sword. Like, I'm Conan.
Yeah, I was watching something that said that he had to do most of his own stunts because they couldn't get anybody the same size as him.
Yeah, I mean, and that at the time, nobody was like that. Now you got certain people getting that big, but not then. Nobody was as big as Arnold.
No.
So what do you think about T2? Let's move on to T2.
Okay, so my first experience of T2 was I was too young to see it in the cinema. So I had to wait for it on video, and I had no idea that Arnold Schwarzenegger was going to be the good guy.
And so, quick answer. Happy about that or not happy about that?
Happy that he's good.
When you first found out?
Yeah, I thought it was amazing because what they did was perfect, especially for younger audiences that shouldn't be watching it. Having him dressed as a cop, being puny, Robert Patrick I'm talking about, you would just assume that he's the new Michael Benn of the franchise. And he's not. He's 10 times worse. And I just remember that moment thinking, what the hell is going on here?
Yeah.
It was fantastic.
Well, and the fact that a skinny guy like Robert Patrick is beating the shit out of Arnold,
Yeah.
It's like, what?
Yeah, and I've not seen The Abyss or anything like that. So I'd never seen that like watery, liquidy CGI, because that's all it really was at that time, wasn't it? It didn't have no real depth.
No, and what's funny is they did that liquid CGI stuff, and it was definitely way ahead of its time, and nobody had been doing it. And these shots like this took months to do, whereas now they can do this kind of stuff in a week. But the biggest thing that they did is like when you see the stuff moving on the ground, that's actually they were using mercury and like
that's brilliant.
Hair dryers and wind blowers on the left to blow it in certain directions to puddle up and everything. So the only time you saw CG is when it was him morphing. But anytime you saw the stuff on the ground and everything, they actually used real mercury with they had a whole team that was just controlling the mercury and filming all of it and blowing it this direction. And
yeah,
cool.
I've not seen that. I have watched the making of it, but I've not seen that part of it. It's been a while since I watched the making of it, but Linda Hamilton, like you said before, she's completely changed. She's become very, let's say, butch.
Yeah, I'd say that's a good. Let me see. I think I got a picture of her right here, so I can. There we go. Yeah. So yes, she is. I think butch is maybe more of a. She looks like she could kick your ass. I don't think she's butch. She's just like no body fat whatsoever.
She doesn't look like she's open to love anymore.
No, at all. She looks like that. I don't know. I'm just picturing that person, like you trying to flirt with that person. If you were her husband, if you were a husband, you're like, hey, come on, babe. How about tonight? You think you can And I mean, first off, if I were to hug her or grab her, it would feel like I was grabbing The Rock. You know?
Yeah, a very skinny version of The Rock. Like, she's so toned. She must have put some serious effort into that, because that's altering a real body for a movie.
Oh, dude, big time. And I think, look, me and my buddy Rylan were talking about this. It's sort of like when certain people hit this sort of stage to where it's just like, why are you looking like that? Like, why do you have to? I don't want my girls. And look, I'm not saying that I need girls to look a certain way. I'm not saying that, but to me, there's a feminist quality and there's a masculine quality. You know, I like girls to be more feminine. You know what I mean? If I'm into girls, that's my preference is girls. And so I prefer them to be a little bit more feminine. When it gets to the point to where their body is looking like mine or like a male bodybuilder's, it has nothing to do with me wanting them not to be healthy, anything like that. But it just becomes like, I feel like I'm looking at more like a dude, and that's not attractive to me. So like Elizabeth Shue's done the same thing. Madonna, same thing. They got super toned and just so like muscular that it's like, oh,
I don't know what you're doing that for. Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming she did it for the role.
But she stayed that way afterwards. Like it sort of dominated
like
her
that Dante's Peak.
But well, she never had her shirt off. She never was.
It might have made it better.
Maybe she hadn't attacked. I mean, I don't think that she stayed completely like that. Like that's in hours in the gym every day. You know what I'm saying? That type of look.
Yeah, James Cameron must have said, "Look, come on." Be like,
well,
come on.
Well, that's what's crazy is they got married.
Who did?
Cameron and Linda Hamilton and Cameron were married for a long time.
Where was I when all this was happening?
He divorced her a while back.
I don't blame him. She probably arm wrestled him out of
Yeah, James Cameron and Linda Hamilton were married, and it was because they met on Terminator. So like when Terminator 2 was being made, I don't know if they were married yet, but they were an item. Kind of like, I mean, that's why she was much more of a, because she was in Terminator 2, or excuse me, she's in Terminator, but she's not really like a main character. You're focusing more on Kyle and the monster Terminator, in my opinion.
How do you feel, or when did you discover the T-1000 cut?
The T-1000 cut, what do you mean?
So with the extra scenes, so the scenes with Kyle Reese in the mental institute with her as like a spirit. And have you seen this?
I feel like I have. It's not drawn, like it's sounding very familiar to me.
Yeah, like these scenes are, I don't know, it was in the 90s, late 90s. And I remember it was shown on TV.
So like Kyle is in part 2.
Yeah.
As a spirit.
Like, she's doing a pull-ups.
Right.
And all that. And he's like hugging her, saying, "You need to get out of here to save our child." And they deleted all these scenes for a reason, because him being in it just made it a little bit supernatural.
Yeah, I don't want that with Terminator. I like the idea that it's just an unstoppable rebel force of machines. And I like the fact that she was very much a loner.
She wasn't mental. That's the thing. She wasn't mental, and then making out like she is with these extra scenes. And you can see why they were cut. There's a few extra scenes with the T-1000 where his feet change because of that mercury, not mercury, but the liquid nitrogen. Like his feet are getting confused with the floor because, I don't know, there's a problem since he's been melted down. Have you noticed that bit?
Well, I know what you're talking about, but what are you saying? Like who's getting confused?
The T-1000, he's not replicating himself like he should be.
Oh, with the nitrogen, yeah.
Yeah. So, and you can see that those effects, there wasn't in the original version. So, and then obviously the part where Arnold's smiling, it's teaching him to smile.
Oh, yeah, that one's hilarious, dude, with the whole.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good scene, and I'm happy with that scene being in there because he's teaching him. You know, he's not just smiling willy-nilly. So,
no, I mean, yeah, it's not just. But see, I think it worked well enough. I mean, their relationship is part of why that movie is so good.
It's definitely a father figure to him.
Yeah, and the way that he's teaching them how to curse, and they're doing the whole hasta la vista thing, and then you got them just being like, you know what, I am gonna sit on the front here, and I am gonna steer, and it's just like they become a little bit of a team, and I don't know, it just, to me, that's half of the movie of why it's like its own thing, why it's better, because none of these type of relationships existed at all in the first movie. You didn't even really get to know characters in the first movie. It's like run your ass off because he's out to get your ass.
Yep.
And then
How
the
did you
second
feel
movie, you get a lot more of that.
when they removed the chip from his brain and they used Linda Hamilton's twin sister? You seen that?
No, is that another deleted one?
Yeah, this is a pivotal scene for Terminator 2 that they removed it. And basically,
It's funny because all these scenes you're talking about, I guess I haven't seen them.
I don't know where you've been.
I know I've seen the smiling scene.
Well, I know you've seen the Prowler, but I don't know if you've seen.
Hey, hey, you want me to go get the
Blu-ray? Maybe he was watching that. I have no idea. But this scene, you need to watch this straight after this because it's
okay, I will.
And basically, they take the chip out of his brain, and they get Linda Hamilton's sister to be in the mirror, so it looks like it's been removed from Arnold's brain, but really it's not. It's a dummy. Arnold's in the mirror reflection with Linda Hamilton's sister, but she's not buff. She hasn't been going to the gym.
So you can tell.
No, it's pretty flawless, I would say.
I did know that I knew that she had a sister, but I didn't know that she was a part of that film.
Yep.
Because I mean, obviously, we all remember when Arnold cut his skin off of his arm.
Yeah.
Like,
No, that's a great scene.
Is it around the same time?
It's when they go to that like factory and he stands there all night.
Oh, okay.
Like, protecting him. There's a scene there
right before the end, like right before the final act.
You know, like in Star Trek when they remove stuff out of Data's brain.
Yeah,
like that. It's like that, and they take the chip out, and she goes to smash it, and then John's like, "No," and then it's reset, and that's how he learns. That's the reason why he is learning, because of this reset.
Oh, I got you. So it's before they go to they stop and chill out at the picnic table and everything. It's before that. Okay.
Yeah.
But see, I think that, okay, now we all know that Terminator 2 was groundbreaking for its time. Everybody was obsessed with that movie. I mean, it was arguably the biggest movie when it was out. Like,
I had an action figure of it.
Yeah, everybody did. I mean, their video games were coming out. I mean, it was just amazing. And then I'll be back. I mean, it already kind of had a catchphrasing, but after Terminator 2, everybody was saying, "I'll be back." Everybody was saying, "I'll be back."
Yeah.
But now you were talking about, the reason I'm kind of getting long-winded is because what you're talking about, a scene that they cut out about him being able to learn because they took the chip out. Well, they've completely ignored that now, because now in the Terminator lore, they are ever evolving cybernetic machines that can learn, can adapt. So guess what the decision that James Cameron made is that, I'm saying, do you think that decision was made in part 2 without just saying to the audience that, like, let's, instead of pulling the chip out, let's just make it to where they can adapt?
I guess so, but I preferred the chip sequence. Usually I don't like deleted scenes. There's a reason why they're not in there.
Mm-hmm.
But this was all edited back together. It was like a director's cut T1000 edition. And some of the scenes, I mean, there was another scene where the T1000 is in John's room and he's scanning the walls and he's touching everything. And they say that they wanted him to be like a cat, like learning, you know, like his surroundings and like feel John, like
downloading information, basically.
Yeah, but through his fingertips. That scene, that's okay. I can't remember any of the others. I'm sure there is more.
I'm just curious if you think that then, if that was a point to where they decided, for the lore of the franchise or for the lore of the character, that we're going to make them evolving rather than programmed completely.
Yeah, he must have done, or he wasn't happy with the scene. Maybe it doesn't look that realistic. I'd have to rewatch that scene again where they take the chip out. But I think it's a brilliant scene. A hell of a waste of money because they didn't put it in there.
Well, so I think that personally, and we'll talk about Dark Fate in a second, but I think if the chip makes sense, because at the end of the day, aren't they programmed? And so if they can adapt and learn, that means that they can ignore their own programming, which just makes the threat kind of go away.
I just think having a reset switch or a learning button or something, you know, whatever it is that they trigger, I just think that makes the plot go right. You know, it makes sense that Arnold will start learning and copying from John.
Well, and it also still makes the good guy of Arnold's character, the good Terminator, still a little threatening, knowing that they can be manipulated by a press of a button or things like that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So but if you're able to just say they can evolve, then that slightly takes the threat away because they can just evolve to ignore any command and be
exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like RoboCop, where he can't do whatever it is he needs to do because of the programming.
That's part of the interest of the story. You know what I mean? Yeah. I think I'm now that we're talking about this, I like the idea of them having something that either shuts off or they have to remove. Like you have to alter him for him to be good, not that he can just become good.
Yeah, and it's quite an insignificant scene, but not at the same time.
No, man, I think the details in certain movies can be the thing that fully breaks it sometimes. If it's like, yeah, they did this, but why did they could have just, you know what I mean? So, go ahead.
Things I didn't like about it, like it was that such of a big of a film. There's a few mistakes that you probably noticed as well. I don't know if you remember it. But like, when he's searching for him, they've got the wrong age for John Connor and things like that. I don't know if you noticed that. It's meant to be set in 1994, is it?
Oh, and so you're saying like little mundane errors?
You little mundane errors, yeah, I don't like them. I don't like it. If you're going to this much effort for a film and you've got all that, you're going through the police computer, get his age right.
Now, so do they say that it's set in 1994 in the movie? And I can't remember if they do.
I can't remember. I think so, because
I know they say Judgment Day. They give you the date of Judgment Day,
August 4th. No, that's not. When is it?
I can't remember. I'm terrible with numbers, man. But what I'm saying is
the system goes online August 4th, 1997.
So
that isn't Judgment Day.
But did they tell you what day we're in Terminator 2?
I think so. I think it's 1994.
And then
that would make him 10.
Well, what I'm saying, but you're saying he needs to be, is he older? Is he supposed to be older than 10 in part 2?
I think so. He's riding a motorbike.
Right. No, so maybe more like 13.
Yeah, I would say like so. That. Yeah. I think his date of birth's wrong. There's something wrong with it.
Well, I'm just kind of trying to figure out, like, did they mention when he was born? So they would, to get it wrong, they would have to either tell you when he was born at some point and then have the wrong date in the film, or they had to have got like
when Kyle Reese first goes back in Terminator 1, he asks the police officer what's the date. He doesn't tell him the year, but he says 12th May, Thursday. So, and then
if they left that open so they didn't have to really focus on his age too much, like as far as the specifics of his age.
I think Judgment Day happens in 1997, so there's got to be,
But what I'm saying is, do they tell you the exact date that, like, even though Terminator
I don't know, Bobby. I have no idea. Is
it supposed to be taking place in 1982, even though it was made in 84? You know what I'm saying? Like,
I have no idea. But if you was to go into the future, when they show you the future scenes, and it's like 2029, there's got to be some consistencies with how old John is back in the 90s. Do you get what I mean?
Of course, yeah.
The dates are wrong. I believe. I'd have to check it out.
Now I got to rewatch 1 and 2 just to see if the dates were wrong, or if they messed up on their own. Like they said something and then they said this over here, and it's like, oh, that doesn't match.
Yeah. It's just a little trivial mistake that I always see when I watch it. And I think,
Now, real quick, I think that we all know what our 2 least favorite Terminator films are, or we both know what our 2 least favorite ones are. I think we are in agreement, but we'll find out. But so moving past part 2, it was awesome. It was groundbreaking. It did something totally different from the first one. And we both agree that 1 and 2 are equally as good because they're totally different films.
Yes.
I agree with you on that. And they are the 2 best. That is the best of Terminator right there in 1 and 2.
Yeah, it should have just been left there.
Yes. I agree. I'm with you. Now, I am always excited when they're going to make something else based on a franchise that I love, but most of the time I'm not confident it's going to be good. I will say this. I knew that Terminator 3 was going to be bad just because of the way the trailers looked.
I didn't. I had no idea. I was so pumped for it.
It looked, you're talking about like that poppy look that part 2 had more than part 1. To me, the trailers looked so Arnold looked like he had a costume on, in my opinion.
I kind of agree. Like they say that he got to the same body weight and stuff like that, and I'm thinking, yeah, that's fine, but it's like the plastic, like there was plastic all over him. He was just so maked up to make him look the same as he was in Terminator 2. He just didn't look like that.
And this had all of the darkness you loved from the original Terminator, even in the second one at certain points, was gone, stripped away. This was a full-on big budget popcorn theater film that was trying to please the masses. It was PG-13, wasn't it, or was it R? Let me see. May have been still R.
It was PG-13, I believe.
No, it was R still, but
was it?
Yeah.
Nothing happens in it. Like you don't see anything.
I agree. I mean, the violence isn't even that bad, and this is when we get the introduction to Kristana Loken.
Blood Rain.
Yes. Now, I never saw Blood Rain.
Me neither.
So let me ask you this. Obviously she's beautiful.
Yeah.
Obviously she's got like the star power look, and she was apparently physically fit enough to do this role. And that's part of like why they hired her. I didn't mind her in the film. I just didn't care for the choices they made in the film as far as having all that robot be that crazy advanced from the T-1000, but it was like also it wasn't as cool as the T-1000. You know what I mean? And
yeah, and it should have been like they were insinuating because she had a flamethrower arm. It just didn't make any sense. Like
that's what I'm saying. It felt like Rise of Skywalker, but for Terminator.
Yeah, and like calling her Terminatrix, it's corny. It's like just because she's female.
It's very corny. And again, I think that she did a good job for what she had to do, what they directed her to do, and she's gorgeous. But my biggest thing is do you think that this movie ruined her career? Because she pretty much didn't have anything after this. Blood Rain was a huge drop off. I mean, it was an extremely low budget film.
Yeah, I do believe that. I mean, I think they went in there probably with some heart, and they got messed up along the way. Like the effort on the actual Terminator herself was poor. Like they'd gone too hard on all the explosions and the part with what it's like a crane or whatever they're driving. Okay,
now see, that's to me the saving grace of the film is that full-on action scene where they're slamming Arnold through the buildings and all that stuff. And I liked that part. I liked the practical explosions and everything, but it didn't matter because the rest of the movie was like.
I think Nick Stahl was a bad casting choice. I think Claire Danes as well was a bad casting choice.
I agree, dude. And look, I think Claire Danes is a great actress, and I think she's beautiful. And I think that Nick Stahl is awesome. Not there. Well, that's just a bad shot, but I think Nick Stahl's an excellent actor. I really do. He was awesome in Sin City as the Yellow Bastard. Dude, he was phenomenal. I know he's a great actor. Both of them are good actors, but it's terrible casting. Then you know that Eddie Furlong was supposed to be in this movie and actually signed on to do it and was actually on set. Did you know that?
He had a drug problem. Is that right?
They fired him because of it. They said it was just way too bad and way too over the top that it wasn't even something like that they could deal with. Like he couldn't even pull off scenes because he was just so bad on drugs. Yeah. So yeah, they had to recast this really quickly. Which
why him though? Like he looks.
That's what I'm saying. I was about to say I can understand that you have to recast, but why this guy? Like get some slimy dude. I mean, their hair's not even the same.
It's not. It's not.
Eddie Furlong had the thin, sloppy hair that hung down on the side completely. This guy's got a nice full head of Jewish hair. You know?
Yeah, he does. He does. It's just hard to believe that this is a sequel to something where they completely changed.
Great. That's a sequel to something that is not just like a great action film. Like it's like a quintessential action film. You know?
I don't like it. The direction of the way they were like, oh, it's not about John Connor anymore. It's about this girl, as in like she's the one that's programmed him.
Oh, and
as the movies go along, it's like John Connor's not even in it. Do you know what I mean? Like they're not even interested anymore.
Well, and you know what's funny is they do get you interested a little later. And again, there's not a whole lot that we can say about this movie. And
I like that picture.
Oh yeah, that's a great picture.
Yeah.
And again, she did a good job for what she had to do, what they gave her to do, but I don't think they gave her anything worth doing. And it's my least It's my second least favorite of the franchise. Not my least.
The comedy is awful. The ending is fantastic.
Well, they the story is actually there, in my opinion.
Nowhere.
The story is actually there. They just outside of the girl, take her about it. But I'm talking about how they end up to where they are at the beginning of part 3. I think that works. Like the opening scene was showing like the pre-war and all that. But then as soon as they all three start interacting with each other, I don't believe I'm watching a Terminator movie. I feel like I'm watching Arnold in a costume. And I don't think that those characters, I don't care about them at all. And they even still ran with the girl thing for a little while, even in the next movie. So I'm going to move on to the next movie if that's cool.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's fine.
So did you like Salvation?
Yes.
I did too. Thank you. I enjoyed it a lot, actually.
Yes. In fact, I don't get the hate for it. I don't understand it.
I don't either. I think the hate for it is that it went into a storyline that was actually intelligent and kind of smart. And it went more into if this was a situation in real life, this is probably what humans would be doing and where they would be going with it as far as making a half cybernetic type thing. And people, I think, just were wanting an evil T-1000. Yeah. I think people were wanting that.
I thought it was admirable, the direction they went, as in, like, we don't want to keep sending people through time. We want it to be in this time. Everything's derelict. Now, that's people's gripes, is that it's not blown up enough. It doesn't look like the future of what you saw in Terminator 2 and Terminator 1.
See, I feel like it did, though. I thought it felt very dystopian and it was burned up. And I mean, yeah, they had crazy machines and stuff, and it was a little more transformy-ish, at certain points, when those big machines are picking up like the crowds of people and stuff like that. And you had like the motorcycles that were driving themselves, which that was pretty cool with the "You Could Be Mine" moment with the Guns N' Roses song. I thought that was pretty cool. Yeah, no,
it's a great link to Terminator 2. How did they get Christian Bale? Like, I don't understand it. Like, why? How did they get him to be a part of it? Like,
well, it was actually supposed to. It's funny you say that. So I don't know if you know this, but Bryce Dallas Howard in the background, she's playing the same character of the Claire Danes character in this.
Yeah.
So this is a full-on continuation from part 3. Yeah. But the reason they got him is because Dark Knight was huge, and they signed him on for 3 films of this, and they were going to do a franchise. They were going to do 3 Terminator movies with him in it as John Connor, but the movie wasn't well received and it bombed, and they went a different direction. That's why they got Christian Bale, because they promised him franchise.
Yeah, I think with the Batman franchise, I just thought him choosing it, regardless of money. The same with Tom Hardy and Venom. Like, it's like, how many franchises can you be in? Like Mad Max, same with Dwayne Johnson. He's in so many different franchises, and you just think, I didn't expect him to sign on. I'm glad he did. Like, I'm glad he was John Connor, but I was just amazed at that at the time. I remember it, because I remember people were saying, well, the director of Terminator Salvation, he just makes music videos. He doesn't know what he's doing. I enjoyed it. The CGI, it's a bit poor on Arnold Schwarzenegger looking back now. But
it wasn't terrible for the time, and it was cool when they're having that fight and everything. The T-800 walks out. I thought that was cool.
I did. Yeah.
McGee is the guy who directed it, and but he's responsible for the Charlie's Angels movies. Which I love the first Charlie's Angels. The second one is terrible. And then I haven't seen the remake or whatever. But the first one with Bill Murray and everything, I thought was a lot of fun. It was clever. It didn't take itself too seriously.
Yeah, I've seen it. I didn't really like it, but I appreciate where you're coming from. It's not that bad.
But the second one is very bad.
Yeah.
But when I found out he was doing Terminator Salvation, I was thinking, is he going to bring MTV to Terminator? You know what I mean? Like, is he going to bring that music video vibe to Terminator? But to me, he made, in my opinion, which is his best movie he's ever made, McGee, the director. I don't think he's made a movie that good before or after. He's made a good one after. Babysitter was good, but Babysitter 2 sucked.
Did Sam Worthington do anything before that?
No, this was his first movie.
That was a risk.
Avatar was his first movie, but
he was already cast for this, though. Yeah.
Well, I think he was already cast for Avatar, but this came out first. So, because Avatar they worked on for decades, or not decades, but James Cameron had worked on it for decades, but the cast itself, it really was like a 5 to 6 year shoot because they were creating technology for Avatar. But so these movies came out, if not the same year, they came out within the 2 summers within each other. But I think they came out the same year.
I believe that this film damaged his career, Sam Worthington's, and same with Clash of the Titans and Wrath of the Titans. It just seemed to me like everything he touched besides Avatar turned bad, a bit like Jai Courtney.
Well, it's funny because he's in a Terminator movie. But it's, I mean, I don't know if this is what ruined it. I think that some of the stuff after, like the Wrath and Clash of Titans definitely did. And then I don't know if you saw like an Innocent Man.
And then now he's
excuse me, Man on a Ledge or whatever. And then he was in a movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger, actually, where Arnold Schwarzenegger was like a mercenary leader. It was one of his more recent ones.
Sabotage?
Maybe.
I don't know. There's a few I haven't seen of Arnie.
Me too. But anyways, I think he's a really good actor. I personally think what ruins his career is being in your first movie in a major, massive blockbuster like Salvation and Avatar. And again, Avatar obviously did way better, but I mean, I see him as, even when I was watching Terminator, I feel like I saw him as the Navi or the Navi. I felt like I was watching the guy in Avatar. You know what I mean? Like, if you first see somebody in a huge, massive film, it's kind of hard to see him in any other way, in my opinion. Kind of like TV shows. When people are on a sitcom, after about 8 seasons, it's tough to see him as somebody else. And
you know me, I have no love for Avatar at all. I just don't get it. I watched it a couple of years too late, I guess. I just don't get it. I don't think the CG holds up, but that's just me. So for me, it was like, who is this guy? And they made him a hybrid metal, a humanoid.
I like that.
Yeah, I like it. I like the way you can't really see any blood, so it keeps it PG-13, I guess.
Now, I feel like also one of the reasons they cast him in this is because he slightly has an Arnold face structure a little bit. If
you think that's what they was going for there?
I think that was part of it. I think that was they liked that part of it. I don't think that they were looking for somebody that looked like Arnold, but I think that was partly why they were like, this actually is a bonus. Because if you look at his eyes and sort of the way, like, he's got, obviously doesn't look like Arnold, but it looks like it could be like Arnold's little brother or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Or if Chris Pratt and Arnold had a child together.
Yeah. There you go. Meld the two of them.
Yeah. Talking of Chris Pratt, like, I love him in Guardians of the Galaxy, but after watching Tomorrow War, do you think he's a good actor?
I think he's a good actor in certain roles. I don't know if he can get as serious as he was supposed to be in Tomorrow War. I think he's good as Star-Lord because he's still kind of like the character from Parks and Recreation. He's bringing that over into somebody who's also a badass, but he's still
he's fantastic in the MCU. Fantastic, but
I'm with you on Tomorrow War. I don't know if that's his role. I don't know if I don't know if he needs to be getting that serious in movies.
Yeah,
he pulls it off.
So I think around about that era of Terminator Salvation, it felt like every Australian was just joining the bandwagon because Chris Hemsworth in Star Trek. I
love Star Trek.
Yeah, and his scene in that was phenomenal as Kirk's dad, and it's like everybody wanted more.
Well, there's talk of a Star Trek movie with Chris Pine and Chris Hemsworth because of maybe some time alteration.
They need to do that.
That'd be awesome. If it was father and son.
Yeah, they should do it.
2 Chris's. Because I tell you what, man, somebody that I feel like that should have been in the MCU somewhere is Chris Pine. Like, he got shit out into the DCEU, unfortunately, and to me, he's kind of the best part of 1984. Seriously. I just I got a little bit of a man crush on him. I just think he's charismatic. I like everything he's in. I just like him.
I've seen This Means War, which is a chick flick, isn't it? It's that with your other man crush, Tom Hardy.
Yeah.
Before they were mega famous, I guess. I mean, they were just done Inception, and was Dark Knight already out? I'm not sure.
I can't remember. I don't know.
Terminator Genesis. Let's move on.
Sure. Yeah. So yeah. But Terminator Salvation, though, I did really enjoy it. I thought it was a great movie. I thought it was underrated. I'm with you. I don't know why it got the rap that it did. I think it.
Yeah, I like it. because this next one we're going to talk about.
All right, so this one, I'm not going to say I love it, but I liked it better than I thought it was. But I also went into the theater thinking I was going to hate it.
It was the first Terminator movie I went to see in the cinema on my own. And I was so excited to see them change the timeline of 1984. And I was so pumped for all them special effects. But that's the best bit. As soon as that's over with, the 1984, it just goes off onto its own thing. Again, I think that two of them are Australian. Are they not? There's another guy who's come straight from Australia, and it just felt like Hollywood was just ramming Australian actors. Not like that's a problem, but it's just...
Well, you're right. You're right.
Yes.
There seemed to have been a trend, but I do know that for the most part, everybody, British actors and Australian actors tend to be a little more versatile than American actors. They just, if you look at history, they just tend to they seem to, I don't know if it's because they pronounce words a little more properly and so they're able to transfer better into different accents, or I don't know what it is, but I do think that actors that aren't from America tend to be a little more versatile.
I get you. I do get you. But then you'll have like Johnny Depp, and he'll do an English accent as a...
Not saying that there aren't good American actors, but I think as a whole, you know what I mean?
I think Hollywood rely way too much on the UK.
They do. Well,
yeah, like I see them going across there, and I think, like, I used to watch Chris Hemsworth, but in a soap opera before all of him being in Hollywood. So I already knew who he was. That was on all the time in my family home. So I already knew who he was. And I was really happy for him. But then when you start getting 10, 20, 30 actors, and it's just like, they're all doing the same thing, and then Hollywood ditches them after a while, and it's just...
You know, it's funny because I'm surprised that Jason Clarke is in a lot of stuff. And I like him, but I don't know why he's in everything.
I don't get it. He must be cheap.
Does he just come to work knowing all of his lines and they have to do very little take? You know, because a lot of times that has to do with it, man, because time is money. And if they can shoot fast and they're like, man, this guy just nails it every take. I mean, sometimes that can be it. If you got somebody, like, we've been here for all day, we can't get this fucking take.
Yeah, he's probably got like a brain like Johnny Mnemonic or something like that. Like he just memorizes it.
Johnny Mnemonic, classic.
Yeah. I've never seen it. I remember trying to watch it after The Matrix. No, thank you.
It's well, first off, that was definitely, it's sort of like that movie becomes obsolete after The Matrix, but it's fun. I can say that, but it is extremely dated, and they had no business making that movie in that time. That movie needed to be made now. You know what I'm saying? For what it is.
Yeah, that'd be a good film to remake.
It would be a cool film to remake. Actually, I'd love to see that. It had Dolph Lundgren in it.
Yeah, and Lawnmower Man as well. I'd like to see that remade.
Which one?
Lawnmower Man.
Oh, Lawnmower Man. It was just the effects that made that so bad. You know?
Yeah.
It was like, oh, this is cool watching this movie. Oh, and then we have someone doing effects on their Windows 95 computer. That's what it felt like.
Really bad.
But okay, so Terminator Genesis. So let's talk about that real fast. So you were just...
I love that scene. I mean, it looks awful now, that. But there's like the people in the background. I just, like, even though I knew it was Bill Paxton and everything, they didn't even try and make him look like him. They tried to reenact it somewhat, but cut it down to make it less violent. And it was just the way he blows him up straight away. Like there's no real threat from the T-800 or the T-1000. They get rid of them both. Is that right?
Yes, they do. To me, this would have been a great graphic novel. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it would work better as that. Yeah.
Like, it's like, this is a cool story, but let's put it in a graphic novel and you can run with it with your imagination. You don't have to pull off all these things on the screen. Whereas I don't know if I like Jason Clarke as an evil John Connor. Like, I don't mind that story arc, but I just didn't buy Jason Clarke as it. And then he's turning into a Terminator himself. It got a little too Star Wars for me.
Yeah, I mean, was he John Connor or not? Like, or was he a robot? Because you see Matt Smith like do something to him before.
But I thought that was the thing. I thought that he was sort of, in a weird way. I'm not saying he was brainwashed, but in a weird way that Skynet or somehow was finally taking over him slowly and convincing him that being the robot is what he needs. Almost like a cult leader going crazy and being like, you know what, I am the Messiah. I kind of felt like that's what they were going with his character. Like he was losing it mentally and subscribing over to the machine side. That's kind of how
I think it took over him. And he was lost in there somewhere. Because he seemed to have some sort of respect for his mum and dad when he first meets them. Like
but he's also cynical at the same time.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed Emily Clark in it. I thought that she played a good young Linda Hamilton. You didn't? Or a version of
right. Load that picture there, and then load the picture of load the picture that you showed right at the beginning of this video. But did she play a good Linda Hamilton? In my opinion, no.
Well, she was supposed to play an alternate version. I said that wrong. She was supposed to play an alternate Sarah Connor.
Yeah, I suppose she's been raised by a Terminator as well, so she would be different. I guess she's more like Sarah Connor in Terminator 2.
Yes. Well, and that's, to me, this movie was a rehash of Terminator 1 and 2. They were trying to throw all the elements of 1 to make you know who Kyle Reese was, but then they shoehorned that character, and then they remade Terminator 2 in a weird way. And then, Jai Courtney, I like him. I like him, but I didn't like him in this.
Yeah, I didn't like him in it. Yeah, I just don't think this film should have been made. They improved in the next one how Arnold looks.
Yeah, which is the worst one. But
yeah.
This one, it just had, again, sort of a graphic novel idea. Like, it would have been cool if they would have just kept this in a storyline like that, and it would have just been a cool little, like, a what if story. You know what I mean? A what if Terminator movie.
Yeah, and I think the way they ended it as well, like leaving it, like they closed it off, but it didn't feel like it had sequels in it.
Well, and maybe that's sort of was their attempt at the time to try to restart over again, erase 3 and 4 somehow, and then, which obviously we know that they were trying to erase all of it in the new one, which should have just erased.
Listen, I've watched it twice now.
I've watched it twice as well.
I preferred it the second time around.
I did not.
I am bored of seeing Terminators turning into liquid and then getting back up. I'm sick of seeing the same thing now, as in, like, there'll be a car chase and you'll jump from one car to the other. And I think in Genesis, the T-1000, is it in that one? I don't know. It's not Robert Patrick. It doesn't have the same effect at all.
Well, and yeah, I'm with you. I mean, this guy is just not. I'm about to put him on the screen. I like this guy as an actor. He's fine, but I just don't. Why am I supposed to be afraid of you? You don't have whatever Robert Patrick had was scary. He was scary looking in his eyes, the way he was. Like, I believed there was a machine inside that body. This guy didn't.
I don't understand it. I don't understand, like, the time travel. They say that, you've got to be surrounded by living tissue. Like, that's not living tissue that's around them. Like, that's an inconsistency in my eyes.
I agree. They say it's some sort of updated whatever, but it's to me, this is along the equivalent of the Terminatrix. The same type of, like, y'all are making a machine that doesn't really fit into what we're supposed to be afraid of. And when you start making them more complicated machines, it's like, if you're thinking about the timeline, well, why aren't you just sending one that's super badass at this point? Because if your timeline, you should know that this ain't going to work type thing. I don't know.
Yeah. That's kind of like a loop plot hole in any time travel film. But I think why send one? Why not send thousands?
But when you got this guy, you're not thinking about the plot hole, or you're not thinking about the time loop thing. You're thinking about, I'm afraid of this machine that's inside this skin.
He's just fantastic. Like, he's not even tall, is he?
No, not at all. And then when he turns into this, it becomes more scary, because then it's like this is like a living, breathing, walking silver ghost, but it's not a ghost. I mean, I don't know. I just the most scared I've ever been of a Terminator is probably Evil T-1000, and the T-800 in part 1 is a close second.
Yeah.
Close second. Like, I'm very afraid of that one. That movie is a scarier film than T2, but I'm more afraid of Evil T-1000.
I mean, they introduced the female like hybrid. She's got Terminator parts in her. Is that right? In Dark Fate, I can't really remember.
No, yeah, you're right. No, well, so this is what they do now is they modify and upgrade humans and send them back, kind of like in Tomorrow War when they're sending back people. Well, she's a modified human that's designed and programmed to fight the Terminators, and then if she doesn't charge properly, she'll die. I don't know if you remember that. She has to like charge herself with water or something. But
you know what? By this point, I was just, and especially Linda Hamilton, she phones in a performance. There was no need for her to be in it,
dude. So bad. She's just like, well, let me show you him, because this is what they do. And it's like, first off, everything you're saying is coming off cheesy, and it sounds like a grandma trying to be badass.
Yeah, and you can tell she's been going to the gym.
And good for you. If for staying as in shape as you possibly can for that age. I'm not hating on you. Good for you.
Yeah.
It's nothing like that. But it's just like, this movie didn't need to be made. I didn't believe you like I believed you in part 2 and part 1. And the whole adding the female and all that stuff, that's a cybernetic upgrade. What they should have done with this movie, man, is just made it Arnold and her, Linda and Arnold, and create some sort of story to where those two are on the run or something, because I did like the opening.
Wow, the opening is fantastic.
I love the opening.
The special effects there are phenomenal. Arnold maybe not so good, but them two look. I could have watched that all day long.
Well, I felt like I was watching a filmed sequence that Cameron filmed.
It was that good.
But I mean, it was new feeling, but it felt like it fit into T2 in a weird way. Like I just really enjoyed that. And so I thought, like, what are we about to get with this movie? And then it's like, oh, we're getting a piece of trash.
Yeah, I'd heard bad reviews, but I saw that scene and I thought, this is good. What are people saying? Like, and then it goes worse. I don't know if it's because it's got that. It's just so different. Like it's got like a Mexican feel to it.
Well, they went to Mexico, and that doesn't mind. I don't mind that. It makes sense why you would flee to Mexico. I mean, if you're trying to, like, that's fine. I don't mind that. But
it's gone so far from John Connor to whatever it is now. It's like I don't really understand it.
And dude, I'm sorry, but the evolved Arnold, the evolved T-800.
Yeah, and he's got a family and drips, and
it's terrible.
That is why put comedy like that in it? He just drips.
Now, I did like the one line that Arnold did when they're waiting out, like right before the last showdown, and Arnold's waiting out at that van with him, and Arnold's talking to him, and he's like, so she came to me, and she said, I want to get colors for my daughter's room and drapes, but she wanted solid colors, and I told her, no, don't do it. You have to go polka dot. You have to go smiley. And like, so I was like, all right, that's funny, but that's terrible. That's what I'm remembering from a Terminator film.
That's a deleted scene, Easter egg. Like that shouldn't be in the film.
Exactly. It's like the same thing I said from Fast and the Furious. It's like it's a sad day when the best part of the movie is the comic relief coming from Tyrese. That's it's over at this point. And that's how I felt when I was watching Dark Fate, man.
Who directed it? I don't even know.
Tim Miller, the same guy who did Deadpool. That's why I was like, what the?
Yeah, what?
Yeah, that's why I was excited about it. And then 2, that's why I was so mad, as I was like, did you just make only one good film and that's all you got in you? Because this was nothing compared to Deadpool.
What else has he done? Anything else?
I think Deadpool was it. It was his
right,
first
okay.
one.
In my head, it was the director of Kick-Ass. I don't know why I thought that.
Unless the director of Kick-Ass is Tim Miller, but I don't think that it is.
I don't think it is. I've got it mixed up.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, to me, I already wanted it to be done. I wanted it to be done after 2, but I would have been fine with it. Just leave it at 4. That was cool. It was a nice little cool thing. How he said Sam Worthington gave his life to save John Connor. All that.
I enjoyed that.
I liked that. But then when Genesis came out, of course I'm excited because you're seeing like glimpses of things that are familiar with part 2. But then you see it and you're like, wait a minute, you should have jumped the shark. So at that point I was like, I just want him to stop. Then when Dark Fate came out, I was not hopeful for it, except that it was the Tim Miller director, but I was still pretty leery that it's like, why are they making a Terminator movie?
Yeah, and I think in the news and the press, everybody was saying, "Oh, James Cameron's got the rights back. It's his baby now," but it wasn't. You know, it was that. That's not his baby.
Well, but I think there was way too much studio meddling. Because I mean, I just feel like that James Cameron wouldn't have let him do some of that stuff, even though he was a producer of the film.
Yeah, maybe it's just to finance Avatar. I don't know. He seems so focused on Avatar.
Well, he said that he's in the Avatar filmmaking business. I don't know if you knew that.
No. So how many does he have in store? Like 5?
He said right now they're filming all 3. They're filming a trilogy right now.
Right.
And then I don't know how many more he wants to make after that. I don't know how long he's going to be living after that. I mean, that's got to be a good. I mean, what is it, 2023 or 24? The first one's supposed to be released.
I have no idea. I have no interest in Avatar. I do look, but
so you're not going to watch it?
I won't go to the theaters to watch it.
That's the way you're supposed to see it, though. That's part of the experience.
I mean, it's 3D.
That's part of why it's good.
Is 3D still a thing? Can you still get glasses?
Oh yeah, it's really good too.
It just shows you, doesn't it, how long it's been since I've been. But
3D is about as best as it's ever been, man. I mean, it's quality. You don't. I mean, now you get these these things that like you don't see any difference of anything until the movie comes on. You can be wearing them and everything looks fine. There's no like blue and red or anything. And
yeah, I have been since they reintroduced 3D and they had 3D TVs, but I know that they got rid of 3D TVs. So
I watch stuff on 3D with my my PlayStation VR.
Yeah, I bet that's good.
It's cool because it looks like you're watching a movie screen. Like, so inside the VR, it looks like there's a movie screen. So if you turn your head left and right, the screen still stays.
Have you ever fallen asleep with it on?
No, I don't know if I could.
I'd try.
You feel like you have something on there on your head. And honestly, I haven't even been able to watch a full movie with it on because I want to take it off after about 45 minutes to an hour. So I put in things like Friday the 13th, 3D, shit like that. It's just fun, gimmicky. Yeah. Prometheus.
What do you think the future of the Terminator franchise is?
I think it's over, man. I think that they realized after Dark Fate, nobody cares.
Yeah, it's done.
You just can't recreate what you did. You can't remake Arnold movies like that, man. There's just certain movies you can't touch. Certain movies are awesomely remade. I like Rob Zombie's version of Halloween. I like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake. There's certain things that are remade well.
How do you feel about Dwayne Johnson being Jack Burton?
Like Jack Burton.
Is that his name? From Big Trouble in Little China. Oh,
I didn't realize that was a thing.
I don't know. It's been rumored on IMDb for years, I believe.
Don't remake that movie. That's not one that needs to be remade. Halloween, I see why you would remake that, just because you want to see somebody's vision of a killer and somebody's version of how crazy can you make it. But like, does anybody want to see a Big Trouble in Little China remake?
No,
I don't.
No,
I mean that movie's fun, but it's not awesome, in my opinion.
I love it. I think it's one of its best. It's not. You are right. It's not awesome.
It's fun. I have a blast with it. I own it, and you know, it was his most expensive movie he ever made.
What was that?
John Carpenter, and it was a flop in the theater, unfortunately.
I remember having the video game as a child on my Commodore 64.
Yeah, I didn't have that one. I had that. I didn't have Commodores. Some people did, but I didn't have them.
Yeah.
But I do think that the Terminator franchise is over. I want it to be over. I don't need anything else from it. I wish they wouldn't have made Dark Fate. I would have been like satisfied, been like, you know, I'm okay with the 5 we have. I don't care for 3, but I do like 1, 2, and 4, and I enjoy 5 enough. But now that we got the 6th one, it sort of put this dark cloud over the whole franchise.
I think they need to no more Arnold, throwing him in there. There's no need for it. Like, it's just start a new story and don't call it Terminator. Like, just avoid it.
I just don't want to see any more of it. I'm cool with that one. To me, there's not enough in there to tell. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Unless it was a future war or something like that.
Yeah, if it was nothing but robots and shit like that, that'd be cool. but we kind of got a little bit of that in Salvation, I feel like.
Yeah, it's done. It's done and dusted. And there's a TV show as well.
Oh, like, dude, I didn't even bring up that the Sarah Connor. What is it? Is it just
Sarah
Terminator? The Sarah Connor Chronicles?
Or Sarah Connor Chronicles? Yeah.
Here, let's see. I'm going to put it up on the screen real fast. Let's see. There it is.
I never watched it. My old housemate, he watched both seasons. He was really into it, and he was like, "Why is this being cancelled?" I'm like, "Because it's not very good."
It's like the Blade TV show. That was terrible.
Oh yeah, that's bad.
It's really bad. The guy looked like Blade in the comics. He looked good, but the quality of the production and everything is just really bad. Like, why are y'all even wasting money on this?
While we're talking, a lot of people are asking for Ghost Rider to make a reappearance because he was in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Is that right?
He was in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which is not really connected to the MCU. They talk about it, but they're trying to make it disconnected. And I think after the multiverse shit, they can just write off Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. as not being connected, ever existing. Because that was a different.
Why don't they want it connected?
So just to talk about a little Hollywood movie jargon, they don't. That was Jeff Loeb's side of production. So Marvel TV and Marvel Film is two different parts of the company. It's still under the same company, but like Kevin Feige doesn't control the TV part of it. He does now, but he didn't before the Disney Plus shows. So the Netflix shows and all that stuff, that was done by Jeff Loeb. Jeff Loeb's the guy who did Heroes, and he's a super famous comic book writer. Like, he's written some of the best stories in the world, The Long Halloween, stuff like that. Like, all Jeff Loeb. He's phenomenal. Hush. I don't know if you know the Hush Batman story. That's Jeff Loeb.
Yeah.
But he was in control of the TV side of things. So the Netflix and all that stuff. Well, Kevin Feige has come out recently and pretty much said, not like yesterday, but like the past few months ago, because now after the Netflix shows got canceled, they had to wait 2 years before Marvel movies, the MCU, could use any of those characters. So once
is that like part of the deal?
It was just part of the contract. And so now we found out later on that what Kevin Feige was doing with Loeb, letting Loeb do with the TV portion of Marvel, is he was experimenting with characters to see who liked what character that he was unsure about. So he knows now that he wants Daredevil and he wants Charlie Cox as Daredevil. He knows now that he wants to not have any sort of like they were testing out TV quality superhero stuff, like network television shit. So that's what Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. feels like Smallville. It really does.
Yeah, so, I watched one episode. It was like, just wasn't for me. Coulson,
it didn't work. Even though it was on for 7 seasons. So he basically has come out and said that we were experimenting to see if that style of TV and comic book content was still even worth doing, which they've figured out it's not anymore because it was already dying. And they used the Netflix platform to see what characters the audience that were these side characters that weren't super big, that were almost dead, that the audience really wanted them or not. And it proved that they do really want the Punisher and Daredevil.
Yeah, them two. Yeah, forget the rest of them. The two ordinary.
Yeah. So and we will see those characters coming in. So that 2-year gap is already, that 2-year time limit is passed. So now they're able to start writing these characters in when they want and all that stuff. So yeah, the reason they don't incorporate that, and the reason Kevin Feige's idea the entire time with that side of it, with Jeff Loeb's TV side, was to experiment.
I'm just started watching Daredevil season 3. I've not watched it yet.
It's good. It just ends on a cliffhanger.
Oh, does it? Oh dear. I'm on to. Well, I did the first episode, but it was so long since I've seen season 2. I didn't realize he was buried under rubble or something. So he's injured, and he's relearning how to fight. And I thought, I feel like I've not seen this guy in years. Like this, I love this show. Like when it first came out, I loved Daredevil when there was nothing else. Like before Jessica Jones and everything, Daredevil, I thought, this is amazing.
It was really good. It was really good.
Season 2 went a bit too supernatural for me. I loved the first season. It was so gritty. I loved it when he didn't have a suit and he just had like a thing across his eyes. I thought that was great.
Because he didn't get the suit until the end of the season 1, right?
That's right. But then you've got his friend who's got a cane and he can fight as well, and he has no powers, and it's like
Stick.
Yeah.
That's a huge part of the story in the comics, though. Stick is a major deal, and so is The Hand, and so is Electra. But see, on Netflix, all those shows connect. So Daredevil, Luke Cage, Punisher, Defenders, Jessica Jones, Iron Fist, all those shows connect. Well, you don't need to watch Defenders unless you've seen all the other ones solo shows, because they're all in Defenders.
So is Defenders before season 3? Because
yes,
is that why he was buried in rubble?
I can't remember, to be honest.
I just remember seeing the marketing for Defenders.
I watched a lot of that when I was still drinking.
Did you really? Yeah, I just thought the marketing for Defenders was so poor. They were just like dressed in the casual gear, and I just thought, this doesn't even look like the turning up on set. Do you know what I mean? It
was all right. It was sort of an event thing, but did you hear that Wilson Fisk is entering the MCU?
Same actor.
Vincent D'Onofrio as Wilson Fisk is going to be in the MCU, which makes me think that Charlie Cox will be Daredevil.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, he's
awesome.
not. Yeah, he's brilliant in that show.
He's a great actor in general, though, man. He's never been in anything and done a bad job. He's a solid actor.
I didn't like him in Jurassic World.
I did, because he was the piece of shit you wanted to get eaten up. I loved it.
Yeah, I suppose.
He was cannon fodder.
He's in Escape Plan as well, isn't he? There's another one who you want to see him get beaten up. He's always a shady character.
Oh, and he's good at that. But he was also, one of the first things he was in was in Full Metal Jacket. The guy
remember that.
Shot himself.
Yeah.
Man, I hate to do this as Maniac, but I gotta go to my mom's and have some dinner.
It's okay. It's 1 a.m.
Hey, dude, I appreciate you talking with me. I had fun doing this, and look, let's do it again, and we'll start a little earlier on your end, and no schedule whenever you have the time to do it. But I would like to start putting these little things out, make them a little better, and we can have this sort of franchise talk. I think it's fun, man.
Yeah, we'll decide on another franchise for the next video. Yeah, no, I've enjoyed it. It's been good.
Yeah, dude. So you guys check out Ezmaniac if you're ever looking for stuff on YouTube. Look at Ezmaniac's shirt. He's got it right there.
There I am.
He's got cool videos out there. That's just, to be honest, I can't even explain the style, because
neither can I.
Some of them are parody videos, some of them are quizzes, some of them are fake deleted scenes. All fun stuff though. Most of the time, it's the type of humor you get it immediately or you don't.
Yeah, even I don't get it. Like I rewatch some of the videos I make and think, I don't understand what I've made there.
That, to me, that the absurdity and oddness of it is what's so fun about them. So I dig your videos, man.
That's good. Right. Well, thank you very much. You enjoy yourself, and it's been great.
Hey, you too, man. And we'll talk soon, brother. Have a good night. Get some rest. All right, guys. Well, thank y'all so much again. And hey, we'll talk to y'all later on. And I hope y'all have a great evening. And I'll talk to you on Monday. See you on the live.